name is Zanthia Oliver, and welcome to the Zanthia Oliver Show. Tonight we have a couple of guest candidates running for election that I hope win. We have Al Mills and we have Bergetta Fields. So we're going to get right into it. Mr. Mills, tell us some of the things that you would like to do over in your area.
I think first and foremost for me, it's going to be about connecting the district. I mean, there's just a lot of back and forth, like not a lot of unity right now. So I want to bring the neighborhoods together, block by block, community to community, to help us unite, come together to solve our own problems. You know, I think right now it's just a big disconnect. So I want to bring some unity and leadership into our community. And right now it just feels like it's null and void from our city council person. I mean, a lot of our residents don't even know who their city council person is at this time. It's just needs to change.
How many civic, do you have quite a few civic associations over there? How does it work over there?
We have quite a few. We have a few, but then we have neighborhoods that don't have a civic association, that don't really have a voice, and I want to be their voice, a voice of leadership, a voice of direction, you know, inclusion, that transparent leadership that I think is missing, and I think those are the ones that I want to speak for, the ones down in those neighborhoods and that just don't even know who their city, feel like they don't have a voice right now in our city government. I think that's unfortunate, and our neighborhood is, you know, really diverse. We have everything from $1 million homes to, you know, government subsidy housing, you know, so we got a good diversity there. So, but everyone needs to have their voice. And right now it feels like, you know, the council person just feels like I represent this area. You know, I'm Brandywine Hills. I'm their council person, and that's it. I don't want to go down to 28th Street. I don't want to go down 30th Street. And it's just unfortunate. And I want to be one who unites the whole district. One
other question. Where are your polling sites? I know a lot of people this year, they changed a lot of different polling sites. Where are yours located?
Our polling sites is the Music School, PS, Harlan, Crestview, and Eastside Charter.
Where's the music school?
The music school is right on Lee, right off. It's on Washington Street Extension,
right there,
Lee Boulevard.
Back of McDonald's.
Yeah, no, back over a block up. The next light up, right to Lee and Washington Street Extension. Right there is that music school is right there. Yeah, right behind. There's our auto shop there. Yeah.
Okay. They added any, or they removed?
That's always been there. Music school's always been a part of that. We used to have the PAL, but this year the PAL wasn't on the list, and Eastside Charter was on the list rather than PAL.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Okay, Ms. Fields, how you doing this evening? Tell me some things that you would like to do in your district. What district is it?
So I am running for the 5th district, City of Wilmington Council seat, and the whole what I would like to do, along with the constituents and my neighbors working with me, is to bridge the gap. Just like Al said, just to include, make everybody feel like they're a part of the district. So I want to work with everyone. I want to connect the communities. I want to expound on the Block Captain Association. I want to work with the youth, and I want to work with those who want to own homes. Who has that desire to, and for those who don't want to own, that doesn't have the desire to own homes but are renters and still feel like I still want to make this my home, even though this is not, per se. I still want to work with those as well. Work with those people as well.
I know you. Your pet peeve is the block captains, and how many do you have? And you have in different neighborhoods. And what? And where are your polling sites this year?
Okay, so we had a graduation probably about. I want to say maybe like 2 years ago, and it was a success. And we have 7 now, and we have 7 block captains, and they are throughout our West Center City. And my whole initiative is to make it all the way through the 5th district, and then take it on to other districts. And everybody says that they're a block captain, which is good, but I want them to feel more ownership of that role. Let them know, like, hey, if you really need us, you can contact us. These are the numbers. Here's the information. Have them a booklet. And we definitely do a training. Oh. They have a certificate, and just different things like that. Just make it more. I don't know. You own that position. That's who you are.
I know you. The last time we talked. No, go ahead and tell me what your polling sites are.
Okay, so our polling sites are Quaker Hill Place, and our other one is the Greek Orthodox Church on 808 North Broome Street. They took out Hilltop Lutheran.
Wow.
So those who live up there in Hilltop, they would have to either catch a ride or walk to the Greek Orthodox Church. But if you have any issues or concerns about trying to get there, please feel free to reach out to me and my volunteers, and we could definitely help you out with that. But yeah, so we just have the 2 polling sites.
Okay, would you like to give me your telephone number?
Yes, my phone number is 302-685-5945, or you can reach me on my website, www.bergettafields2020.com. But again, my number, that is my personal number. It will ring and I will pick it up, and I'll leave that at that.
One other question. I know the last time we talked, you said you was walking up in the Cool Spring areas. You have a lot of support up in that area,
Yes.
and you said you wanted to get some block captains up there
Yes.
and engage more with the Cool Spring area. How's that coming along?
Well, it's coming along pretty good. Each area has their own little swag with them.
Okay.
So you definitely have to be able to talk to each one on their levels, as far as their neighborhoods, as far as their population, their demographic, different things like that. But it's coming along well. It is
Great.
coming along well. And you mentioned to Al about the Civic Associations and the different things like that. West Center City and throughout the 5th District, we have different ones. Like you said, we have different ones, but it's the inclusion part. Everybody doesn't feel like they're included into these meetings, or they're not told about these meetings. So that's another thing that I'm going to definitely work on too, is making sure everyone knows when their meetings are. And just hopefully they'll become more involved. And if not, meet with my block captains quarterly and say, hey, let's talk about it. So there's ways.
Okay. Mr. Mills, I know you were doing some telephone banking. I saw it on one of your volunteers' webpage, and it looked like it was very successful. How's that coming along?
It's been going really well. Like I said, we've spent the majority of this year, definitely this summer. I tried to knock on each and every door, but there's some families we still weren't able to reach. So it's a good opportunity for us to be able to, one, touch base with the ones, or with the supporters, and then be able to reach out to those undecideds and trying to just let them know why I'm the best candidate by far. So it's been going really well, and I'm very appreciative to the team, Mills.
I see y'all busy over there.
It. Yeah, we got to put the work in.
That's right.
It's not about slowing up right now. I've been working all summer. We got to run through the finish line. So come the 15th, I will be the new councilman. You just got to keep
Praise
that
God.
mindset all the way through.
Yes.
I look forward to seeing you on council and getting some things done. Some things done and moving the city forward, and not so much bickering and
Yes.
out of order, and people just reading the charter and just looking for some new energy. But I know I'm hearing a lot of good things about you over in your district. I know a lot of people over there, and they said they have your support. You have their support. I know one lady told me that she didn't put a sign up because she don't want to mess up her yard, but she has sent in her absentee ballot, and she definitely has already voted for you. So
right.
That's good stuff.
Appreciate
Anything else you want to talk about that's going on over there?
Leadership. I think leadership is truly something. I just feel like, watching the council as I have been, definitely tuned in all year to the Zooms, and it just feels like you're watching a football team where the team they're having a losing season and they just giving up. They really just
Right.
they just want to point
Good way to
fingers and
put
blame
it.
everybody. I want to blame the quarterback. I want to blame everybody wants to blame everybody. But do your part. I don't feel like they were honestly committed to doing their part. I feel like they've been paid. Many of the members have been paid for nothing, done absolutely nothing, have not had the best interests of the city at mind. And I think that's a problem, because at the end, it's not that city councilman is losing, it's our city that's losing.
That's right.
And that's why we have
That's
to make the
right.
changes.
That's right.
Much needed changes.
I like the way you said that. It's not just the city council, it's the city, the residents of the city of Wilmington. Anytime the mayor had to put an executive order for the census, who votes down the census? Right. That's money that Lisa Rochester's in Washington and Chris Coons in Washington fighting to get our neighborhoods. Back in the day, some people died for us to be included. And to say no towards the census, I just thought was really, really, it was different. And I thought it was immature. And I didn't think anybody read up on it, because if anybody knows, Jessica in Newcastle County, I just talked to her. She's going to come on next week. We're going to do a big big event in Pricey's Park next Saturday to push for people to fill out their census. It's important. That's the only way we get money. Obama started including people in prison in the census so we can get some money in our areas. Any other things you want to talk about?
You know what? And I talked about this the other day. I think I had mentioned to Al. It's when you knock on doors and you get to know your constituents and your neighbors, and you got their support and you have their vote, but then when they call you, because they can reach you, they call you and they say, well, can you help? Can you tell me who should I vote for? How do you know this person? And so on and so forth. That lets me know that they trust me.
Okay.
And that trust means more to me than anything, to know that you just met me, but I'm passionate about my community, I'm passionate about what goes on in our neighborhoods. For you to call me and say, you know what, you got my vote, but who else should get my vote? I think that matters a lot, and that should tell anyone right then and there. Like, if I trust her, then I know that she's going to point me in the right direction, and that we're going to have a really good administration coming up, after the 15th. So, I just hope that everybody just continues to trust me, and know that I'm passionate about my community. I'm passionate about the entire district, and I want to bridge that gap. And I say it, I'm going to keep saying it. I-95 divides us, but it should not define us. Right. I want to make sure that we have equality throughout the entire 5th District, right, not just one side or the other. I hear a lot over there in Hilltop, they forget about us, nobody pays us any attention, but I'm still going to stick with this. No, you can't. If you want change, you have to change. You can't just keep sticking with the same thing if you want change. I get it. You may not know me, but know that I'm passionate about my community. Know that I have legacy and giving back, being engaged, doing things throughout the community. Know that I have a vision, and that vision is to move it forward.
Thank you. Ms. Mills, do you have a number you'd like to give out or anything you want to say about the final?
almillsforcouncil.com is the website. I mean, by all means, and if anyone in the 1st District needs a ride to a polling site, 302-275-6946, by all means, myself or my volunteers will be delighted to give you a ride on September the 15th.
And I'd like to thank you both. I think it's very important that individuals know where your polling site place is. Call Department of Elections early. Call me for the 3rd District. If you need a ride, feel free to give me a call at 302-519-5584. If you need a ride to any of the polling sites, we will be providing transportation for individuals who need a ride. I think with the COVID, I hope that some people have filled out their absentee ballots because it is dangerous out there. Hopefully you mailed in your absentee ballots. If not, like I said, feel free to give us a call. I think everybody's on the same page. Feel free to give any of us a call. We will be willing to take you to the polls. If you have filled out your absentee ballot, take it right in town on French Street to Department of Elections. I took some people up there the other day, turned in their absentee ballots. So it's really serious that we get out and vote. And I'd just like to thank everybody for tuning in, and we'll be right back with some more information. To the Zanthia Oliver Show. We have some additional guests on tonight. We're going to talk about a little bit of politics and start with Chris Johnson, and we have Al Mills here. Chris, let's talk about your district a little bit. What district do you represent, and what position you're running for, and a little bit about your civic associations, and tell us where your polling sites are.
Okay, so I'm in the 7th District, so Little Italy, which is on the east side, to where Union is, all the way out to Cab Callaway. So it's the whole southwest section of the city that encompasses the Union Park Gardens neighborhood. We have Westmoreland, and it goes even all the way over on the other side to Hilltop, where St. Francis is. So it's a very diverse district. We have a heavy commercial district, the Union Street corridor. We have a lot of great restaurants. Everyone knows Miss Rubino's. Everyone knows Attilio's. Everyone knows all the great spots on Union and Lincoln. Then we also have, a lot of great parks as well. Bancroft Parkway, Woodlawn Park, Mack Park. So that's in a nutshell our district. Again, it's a lot of different diverse needs, from the commercial needs of the business owners to the needs of the residential homeowners and renters. So, we are ready to continue moving forward. We've had a lot of great projects in our neighborhood, the Flats.
It looks good over there.
Flats Affordable Housing Project. We have Solomon's Court coming up on 4th Street with Be Ready Church is working on that project with the corporate partners. So we're ready to move. And so our polling sites are Unity Church, which is the old Zion, Cab Calloway, Woodlawn, and then Bayard on the east side. That's it. And we look forward to having everyone vote. If you don't know your polling place, go to ivote.de.gov and you can find your polling place for where you live.
What about your civic associations? Do you have many over there?
Yes, so we are in a process. Little Italy Civic Association is one that has been near and dear to my heart. We started last year trying to revamp that civic organization because I honestly had not met in years. So that is a big project that I'm continuing to work on. The other Civic Association district are pretty strong. And so we have Union Park Garden Civic Association, Southwest Civic Association, and then we also have the 7th District MPC, which meets at St. Francis Hospital. So we have chance for engagement. I believe we need to do a lot more, especially in the Hilltop area, where we need to get folks engaged here. So we have a long way to go, but going into the next few years, I want to get a district-wide task force, which I know our colleague Michelle Harley is doing the 4th. I believe we need to do that in the 7th in all districts so that all the neighborhood councils are meeting together and sharing ideas.
Sounds good. Another question, where do you stop when you by St. Francis Hospital? I know my dear friend Cindy Stevens, you cover her area. I know she said she received some direct mail from you, and I didn't realize you were over on that side. Where do you stop over in that area?
So it stops, it's very jagged. So it stops at Broome,
okay,
and then it stops at 5th Street. So
okay,
those are the east barriers, and so that's why some people don't know if they're my district or if they're in the 5th District. So it's a lot of overlap over there.
Okay, Mr. Mills, let me ask you a question. I know you're very involved with the education department. How do you feel about this virtual learning? What's your comments on that?
I mean, it's great when it works great. Last year when COVID hit, we didn't have much of an opportunity, so it was kind of thrust into it. So everybody was just kind of making do. But now we've had 6 months to plan for it. I think the state, definitely these districts could have did a much better job rolling out right now to start in September. I mean, if September the 8th was the school start date, then before the 8th, the week before, those kids should have had their devices in their hand, being able to work out the kinks, a trial basis. Okay, the week before school starts, we're going to work out the kinks, that kind of thing. But instead, we got districts sending out texts. I mean, tweets this morning saying, okay, if you didn't get a device, come get a packet. That packet is not going to suffice. And our kids are already behind because of what happened since COVID. Some of these kids did not log on at all last year,
Right.
So it's a troubling stat right now. And that's one of my pet peeves dealing with truancy as a profession, being a licensed master social worker, and I run a truancy prevention program. I mean, it's very dear to my heart, and that's one of the driving forces that I want to be a part of on council, is being able to hold these districts accountable. If we're going to continue this 4-district model, then we need to be able to have a voice in our children's education.
I totally agree. My brother Robert Oliver, he works over Warner. He was supposed to be here this evening. He couldn't even show up. Basically, from what you just said, a lot of devices, I guess, aren't at people's homes. and the parents aren't knowledgeable. I was glad I had Theo Gregory on here a couple of weeks ago, and he works with the school district, and that's one of the things he stated, that if some of the parents don't know how to contact people to see where they can get the devices. What's your input on this, the devices and the COVID in the school?
Zanthia, and I think we talked tonight about this, is just the wealth gap and
Yes.
the need for investment in our community. And this just highlights it, because from not only education, but healthcare, every disparity in the Black and brown community is just made 1,000 times worse because of COVID. So we really see that not only do we need free internet, but we need an education system that engages students. So even if they were back in the classroom, they still had difficulties. So I think we really look at, as I know Al has talked about, and your brother and many advocates for education, we really need to talk about a Wilmington school district, and we need to be talking about not only Wilmington school district, but one that has resources. And I think that gets us to that conversation.
I totally agree. I'm glad you said that. Resources here in Wilmington for its education is lacking, and it's obvious. So hopefully we will get a high school here. Like y'all both said, because of COVID, it's making it even worse. I know we gave out over, 10,000s of masks, and now I ride around and I don't even see people wearing their masks. I think individuals out there need to take this COVID really, really serious. I know it hit a member of our household, of a family member, my cousin in New York. Her mother passed away from it in the hospital by herself. So it is real. We need to be wearing our masks. We need to be washing our hands. We need to be careful about just going around a whole group of people and not being safe. I'm not one to stand in the house because I need to get out, take a ride, take a little walk. I'm involved with the election. I have an opponent that they put on the ballot at the last minute because I was running unopposed, and he doesn't even live in the district. I think it's sad when you have people who don't live in the district. He lives in the 4th district. He doesn't live in the 3rd district. And to my understanding, some of the people out there put him up to run against me, so I wouldn't have time. But that didn't do nothing but make me work harder for Mr. Mills, work harder for Mr. Johnson, work harder for my brother Rob, work harder for the mayor, and work hard for myself. I don't take my district for granted. You can reach me. You can call me at 302-519-5584. I'm always knocking on people's doors. I'm always reaching out. I do a lot of outreach, so I don't take my district for granted. I'm approachable. You can put it like that. So if you have some other things we can just get into, feel free to talk about. If you want to talk about the education system or some other things you may want to talk about.
I think, being approachable, I think that's a key, and that's what I feel like is missing from our council in a lot of parts, in a lot of ways. I've seen the great days of city council. I remember Mr. Blunt was the first district person, then it became the first district. So I've seen great leadership in the first district seat, and now to have someone where we don't see it all, no return calls, no return emails, and it's just unfortunate. And that's not what I plan to do. I'm not that person as a community resident. My neighbors knock on my door now. When my brother was city councilman knocking on the door, is this the councilman's house? No. But if I can handle what my son got put out of school, I was dealing with issues, already. So it's just, I grew up in that community centered home, and we've always been giving back. From Hicks to my grandmother to my mother. This is the person who I am, and I won't change. I'm not going to get in there and become arrogant and think I'm somebody else's boss. I'm a speaker of the people. I represent the people, and I'm their voice right now. And when I'm elected on the 15th, I'll continue to be that voice. And I've always been a public servant, and I'll continue to do just that.
All right. And do you want to get into some things in general?
Yeah, so it just goes back to basics, as Al talked about, is going back to community empowerment. This is what this is all about. Mm-hmm. And that's what I respect so much about you, Zanthia, and you, Al, and all folks who are about the right thing, because it's about not about I, it's about we. Mm-hmm. Similar to Obama, it's yes, we can. And that's the approach I take, and I know that's the approach you take. One of the first things I did when I got into office last year was to do community organizer trainings with the Urban League. That was one of the first things, because I knew without a strong civic association, I can't get things done in City Hall. So that was the first step for me. And I was actually looking forward to doing it again in the spring, but then we had COVID. Right. And so I hope post-COVID we're able to do those trainings again, because that's where it starts. Mm-hmm. Without an engaged audience, it's really difficult, because I'll even find, even in my role as an attorney, being involved in civil rights and going around town, having worked for the governor's office, I've been in every neighborhood in the city. And the worst thing is when you have folks who aren't engaged. Because some folks say, well, I don't know anything going on. And that's a problem because they don't say, well, I don't know about the meetings. I don't know about this. Because when people come to me, I always say, are you going to your civic association? How can I help you get there? And so that's really where we have to start. We have to start the basic elements. We can't have a big government. We don't have unlimited amounts of money. But what we can do is really get folks engaged with our government leaders, and that's what I try to do. So, a vote for me on September 15th is a vote for not only transformation, but a vote for community empowerment. And every dollar I spend on my district and investing back goes towards building up community organizations and civic associations. So we really have a long way to go. What we see in the spike in national violence needs to be addressed, but it needs to be addressed a smart way.
That's right.
There's no quick fix to it. We got to work on entrenched poverty, stabilize our housing, all those issues that we've been talking about. It's time to act. So I really look forward to this ride with you, Zanthia, because it is, in the next 4 years, the past 4 years, we've had a lot of change, positive change. In another 4 years, working with the administration is really going to be a special thing, and we're going to continue to be a special city and be a gem of the Northeast.
Thanks. It was one thing I saw on the news. They were saying about us. I don't know if it was in Chicago with some protesters, but a lot of them didn't register to vote. I think they were short like 40%. So it's okay to do some marching and stand up for what is right, but let's not lose focus on getting out there to vote on the 15th and for the general election. So sometimes you have instigators out there who are purposely out there to distract us from voting. So we got to be careful about that. It's one thing to push for what's right, but let's not lose focus that so many people are out there, and then you look up and the day of the election, you look up and they say, oh, 40% of the people didn't come out and vote because they was over here fighting. And you have people who's trying to do, out there purposely distracting some of us from voting. So let's not lose focus of that.
And it's important because in being from different areas of the city, I know a lot of folks are discouraged. They're discouraged. They say, well, no matter who I vote for, nothing changes. And that's where you go back to the community empowerment thing. Because if you have the right official who knows how to get resources to community, there can be change. And so that's what I try to stress, is that it's about, me being almost like a quarterback. You have that quarterback of district who knows where to tap resources. And that's really where it's special. So that's what I want to say to all the folks who think your vote doesn't matter. It does. And they will be that quarterback that can really rebuild your community. And
I'm glad you said that, but some people don't realize we're just a voice for the people. It's not about me. Right. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's about us as a community and me just being a voice, and you can relay something to me and I'll pass it on. Would you like to say a few words in closing?
And it's about, to me, it's about Delaware. We have to look at our issues. I mean, Wilmington is a special city and very unique, a place very dear to my heart. Right. So much love for Wilmington, but we can't just jump on these national bandwagons and say, okay, this worked over there or there. Just no, we got to look. Let's evaluate Wilmington's police departments let's Wilmington's police department speak for itself. And I'm not trying to defund them because that's what they're saying. That's the cry right now.
That's
let's go with, we have some excellent officers here. Yeah. We have some issues here. So let's do what we can to address these issues and bring out the good in the department, and then put that good all around the department. And to me, it starts with training. I mean, that's the way that's how you stop police brutality. Better training, better well-trained officers, whether that camera on a pole or camera on an officer at the chest. The way we're going to stop crime is not through the cameras. It's through those officers being better trained, better equipped, have de-escalation tactics, how they can deal with problems, de-escalate the situation rather than reaching for their weapon. That's how you stop police brutality.
That's what Captain Fahim, we was talking about the other day. I mean, now he's a good officer.
Very much so.
Brother Fahim, he's a bad boy. I respect him. I mean, I love his energy. He's approachable. Yeah. So, I mean, Scott, we have a lot of, good officers out there.
And I have a perfect example, Zanthia, of what we did to break down those barriers. So this is years ago, before I was on council. You got to wind it up,
so go ahead.
Years ago, we did a street law clinic with Captain Fahim Akil, Officer Mike Coleman, and we did it with the kids at Hicks Anderson.
Okay.
We worked with the Jim Crow Coalition, a community organization, and we did Donald Morton was there.
Oh, okay.
And we did this. and about 3 dozen people and residents and kids came, and it was special. And so I think we need to take that model citywide, where we do street law clinics, just breaking down those barriers between the community and law enforcement. And that's really where we need to go. So, I look forward to doing those training sessions in the future, because as Al said, it starts with just relationships and trust, and you gotta just have the officers be in the community, but those training programs really can save lives.
Thank you. And that is so true. But I see she's saying we have to wind this up. But I just wanted to tell everybody, whoever runs for office, may the best man win. When this is over with, it's not that serious. Congratulations for taking the effort to run. I'm not that type to hold a grudge. Some people, just go crazy and lose their mind over this. This doesn't define me. When this is all over, you still should remain friends with people. I just hope y'all win. I know we're going to win. And let me know where the victory party is going to be so I can come there. But thanks for coming out, sharing your opinion. That's all it is. It's just our opinion. And we have another show coming up afterwards. And God bless you all.
All right, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening and welcome to the Mayor's Corner, where we discuss all things Wilmington. I sure hope you enjoyed that video. This evening's special guest is Mayor Mike Brzezicki. Mayor, how are you?
Fine, Ashley. Good to be back again after a brief hiatus, right?
Yeah. So tell me, what does that video represent to you?
I think it represents a snapshot of the best of Wilmington. It highlights our diversity, but it gives you a sense of our neighborhoods and our downtown and the riverfront. To me, it pulls it all together in I think an uplifting kind of snapshot of the city of Wilmington.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And today we're less than a week away from the primary.
Are we?
So yeah.
Oh.
So tell me, if reelected, what are your priorities for the first 100 days?
Well, they wind up centering around the neighborhoods. So what we did last time is we spent all of our time trying to rebuild the infrastructure, the foundation of the city. So our roads, our parks were in terrible condition. Everybody understands that. It's ironic that my detractors say he doesn't care about the neighborhoods when we spent more money on Hicks Anderson alone than we spent on the riverfront and the downtown together. So we spent $13 million on parks. We have clean teams going into a half dozen of our poorest neighborhoods so that every morning people get up and they see the streets cleaned and their neighborhoods cleaner. So we've done a lot of things to strengthen neighborhoods. The one thing that we were not able to accomplish in the last session was legislation that would hold landlords to account for keeping their properties at a very high level so people live in clean and habitable surroundings. We couldn't do it because a lot of people bought into some of the nonsense about gentrification. Others bought the landlords' their claim that if we charge them anything else, they're just going to raise rents. And everybody was so worried about this that we couldn't get it passed. Well, we're going to get it passed right away because we're a city with more than half of the residential dwelling units are owned by landlord investors. And we don't have the means under our current law to really enforce our housing code. So we're going to get that passed so people start living in much better living conditions.
Speaking of living conditions, Mayor, a news release went out yesterday explaining money that was dispersed in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Can you explain the process by which those funds were dispersed and when? Sure.
So we were awarded, these are federal dollars. We were awarded them in April. We had to take, we needed a resolution by council in order to disperse those funds. We had that done. And we have been dispersing them as we go along. I think we've got about $1.3 million dispersed to date. They're for people who are made homeless because of COVID, people who have trouble with their utility bills, and other housing-related issues. So we got it out. It's just taken us, but it's taken us some time because we had to go through a process to get there.
Okay, so the process was through council?
The process began 5 months ago.
Okay. So you've spoken a lot about how being the mayor is very rewarding, yet very challenging. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me an example of each?
Sure. So what's challenging about life for all of us today? We have a week ago, I had to walk into a hospital where an 11-year-old had been shot in the leg and was in surgery, and I sat with her mother and father and tried to make sense out of something that makes no sense in the minds of any of us. How a child at 11 o'clock in the morning playing on her own street should be subjected to random gunfire between two young people and then becoming the victim herself is beyond the comprehension of most people. So this is a deeply frustrating problem. But interestingly enough, the father of a very, very dear individual who cried about his daughter and feeling that he had failed her, then honestly wept over the kids who did this because he said, I work with these kids every day. They don't have fathers. They don't have family support. We should feel as troubled for them as we do by other victims. They're victims as well. And I found this remarkable sense of empathy that he was able to summon when his own daughter was lying in surgery, getting fixed by surgeons. So to me, that's this great frustration of how do we deal with this. Here's another frustration. The public seems to be kind of schizophrenic about police. If we polled people in neighborhoods and said, do you want more or less police? They'd all say we need more policemen because some of these kids are really out of control. We have a drug house over here. Get these police over here right away. And then we go through this at the same time, we go through everybody vilifying police generally, in writ large. And everybody says, well, there are many good police officers, many are really great guys, but, and then they fill in the but. Well, it's really hard to navigate this when you're in my position. I can't and shouldn't go out there and bash police officers for somebody misbehaving in a stressful position unless they do something that is really beyond the pale, something that's criminal. So there is this conflict about how we do this. I think everybody's committed to making policing better, evolving it so it's better. We released our so-called white book. They're the rules and regs that have been internal forever. We released it to the public to see so they can see all of our policies and procedures. We try to be as transparent as we can, but we're in a place where for the public to get everything that somebody might want is going to be difficult. There are laws that protect police officers. They have a Bill of Rights that protect them. We have contracts that protect them. So we have to navigate this and do it in a way that we don't feel, we shouldn't be alienating either group. I mean, people have legitimate grievances, And believe me, police officers do as well.
Yeah.
And then you asked for the rewarding one, right? Mm-hmm. There's so many. Somebody introduced us, the mayoral candidates this morning, and said, we bring these folks up here for what has got to be a thankless job. And I said, it's not thankless at all. People are very generous with their gratitude when it comes to this. Sure, the other night some guy screaming at me over God only knows what, a whole list of things. But for everybody like that who's just angry at the world, there are 20 people who say thank you so much for doing what you're doing. I think people recognize, they look at me at my age and they say, this is not building my resume. There's no career doing this. I don't need this. In a way, maybe spiritually, I do need it. Maybe it's my way of doing something productive. I'm not smart enough to cure cancer. And so maybe this is my contribution.
Yeah, understood. So not only are you our mayor, but you're also a husband, a father, and now a proud grandfather. How do you balance your responsibilities with your family life and being the mayor of the city of Wilmington?
Well, it's funny. It's not as hard in some respects as it might be if you're a senator or a congresswoman or even a governor. Governors who would be the closest to home base still have to go down to Selbyville. That's 2 hours away. I mean, if you have to go to a town hall meeting in Selbyville, that's 4 hours, and you didn't take any time for that. Over here it is 20 minutes to the farthest place in the city, so I can use my time very economically. There are times when I miss events with my family, but I have to tell you, Betty and I spend a lot of time together. We're lucky to have a nice little home 45 minutes away that you've been to. I now have 2 grandchildren that I'm just totally goofy over. I waited a long time to have a grandchild, and now I've got 2, and it's here's what it's funny. The revelation to me about this is when we get so depressed about our lives, we get depressed about the politics of the country. I get deeply depressed about what comes out of the White House and all this bickering, and it does have an effect on you. But when you have a grandchild, you realize the cycle of life starts going again and again, and that child is going to come into the world, and they're going to have a better life, and they're going to aspire to something great, and the cycle begins, and somehow the green shoots are going to come up and everything's going to be okay.
Wow. So you have 2 new grandchildren. What a way to start off, not the new year, we have a few more months, but 2 new babies to add to the Przicki
I got to
clan.
stick around long enough so they remember me. That's the trick.
Yeah. And speaking of remembering you, based on your appearance, some people may make some assumptions about you. Can you share one thing people may be surprised to find?
Well, I don't know. I don't think I'm as stiff as I look. I come from a generation where we all wore suits all the time, and it's hard to shed that uniform. Every year there's a political dinner called the Gridiron Dinner. Now, they didn't do it last year for the first time in 25 or 26 years. I was the president for years, and I performed every single year, so I'd get up and sing. One year I sang with Hanifa Shabazz. We sang a great old tune, Let's Face the Music, and danced together. Mm-hmm. And we danced a little bit, and my wife got mad at me because I don't dance with her, but I dance with Hanifa on the stage.
Oh, well, that's funny to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shifting to something that's a little bit more serious. In the wake of civil unrest and just disruption between police and communities nationwide, what kind of conversations do you have with your son, Gage, in preparation for him to go out into the real world?
Yeah, it's not been so much as a result of these past 6 months. Having an African-American son in our family since he's been with us since he's 18 months old. So we've grown up with this kind of unusual situation. But it's funny because as he's grown, he has a lot of black friends, got a lot of white friends, and he navigates those worlds extremely well. He's a wonderful kid with a generous heart. So he has no chip on his shoulder whatsoever. So when you talk to him about these things, he's very open to have a matter-of-fact discussion about them without the anxiety that I think some kids have because of the circumstances of their life. He's had He's had a very supportive family, and he's had a lot of things other kids don't have. So he's got a great disposition for this. So I think he and the friends that he surrounds himself with, or young kids, will set a standard for the way we interact together. I certainly hope so.
Yeah. And one thing that people may be surprised to find, under your administration, an unprecedented 89 minority-owned businesses were assisted through your small business program. Can you tell us why it was important to kind of wrap our arms around the minority businesses here in the city of Wilmington?
Well, look, I can't help what I look like, and there are people that just simply don't trust my motives because of I fit the profile. I mean, I'll never forget when I was, this has been 20 years now, and I was crossing 9th and Market, and there are two little black girls standing next to me, and they're looking at me and giggling, and I turned and I looked at one of them, and she said, "Hey man, are you a cop?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "I told you he was a cop." So it's kind of funny. What do I look like, a detective or something? I don't know. But so people have they have a sense of who you are just by looking at you. But I think I know that the people who know me are usually surprised by my view of our history and the struggle to get away from where we are. A friend of mine once said, he asked me the difference between a problem and a predicament, and I said I didn't know. And he said, well, a problem has a solution and a predicament has an outcome. And there are days when I worry that our racial problems are not problems, but they're predicaments, because we've got ourselves in such a place that extricating ourselves from this complex web that we're in is really going to be hard. And I spoke when we flew the Pan-African flag at Spencer Plaza. I talked to those who were attending, and I said, look, this is one small step in a very long journey. And this is a journey that we have to take together. And maybe it's not just, but we must. There's no way for somebody to do it alone. Black America can't do it alone. White America couldn't sit there and say, here, we're going to confer something on you. We have to do it together. And this road is just so rife with potholes and every manifestation of barrier. And there's resentments, and there's despair, and there's anger. Those things are there, and we have to deal with them. And so, in my judgment, all the way back to your question, the only way this works is if people feel like they're treated with respect, and we start addressing the humiliation that an entire race of people, class of people in America have been subjected to for years and years. I'm not some pointy-headed white liberal. I am just pretty practical about this, and I look at what's happened with a certain historical knowledge, and it strikes me that America is paying for its sins today, because we had opportunities decade after decade after decade to make this right, and we continued to resist it. And so all of a sudden, George Floyd happens, and the world's blown apart. And I hope this is a problem that we can solve, and not a predicament that simply has an outcome.
Yeah, thank you for that great feedback. I want to touch on another thing. We've heard over the campaign trail, you've been accused of investing in people over property,
over people.
I'm sorry, because I mistakenly told the truth. I wanted to say that looking at the camera. You've been accused of investing in property over people and down on the riverfront and only on the Market Street corridor. Can you expound on, even though you touched on your investment in West Center City, can you expound on why that's not true?
Yeah, nothing could be farther from the truth. I think when I was down on the riverfront, people said to me, you only care about the riverfront, you don't care about the neighborhoods. And I would say, well, guilty as charged. That was my job. I mean, I was hired to rebuild what was just an environmental sludge. I mean, it was just a dreadful place. And it's hard, by the way, to remember how bad it was, but when you go back and look at the pictures, you think, wow, why did I take that job to begin with? So that was true. People said, why don't you spend money here? And I started to get sense when I went to South Bridge to try to talk to them about what we were doing. I could see the resentment immediately. The images of what might happen at the riverfront didn't bring any cheers. It brought resentment that the state's going to spend money there, but they won't spend money over here. But again, my job was to develop the riverfront, and that's what I focused on for 20 years. And so now we get to this, and that the echoes of that accusation continue. The difference today is that as I said, we spent more money on one project in the neighborhoods than we spent on all of the riverfront in all the 4 years we're here. We have all the money included. We spent $1.5 million. We spent $1 million on the 76ers field house. We bought a property that with money we got from the state at the Rite Aid building. I promised $400,000 to the builder of the soundstage out on 7th Street Peninsula, and $1.5 million in arts money for rebuilding Rodney Square, which is just in terrible condition, which is going to have a beautiful fountain that hopefully kids will be attracted to. So that's everything. So was that $4.5 million? I mean, it might be that. We spent that on Hicks Anderson alone. We spent $13 million on all of our parks. You know, we got $500,000 just on people getting up in the morning and cleaning the streets. $3 million on LED lighting throughout the city, so we don't have these dark places where crime breeds. So we've done this because we really believe in strengthening neighborhoods. But the most important thing, as I said, was we have to get control of half of these houses. I heard one of my opponents say, the city's the biggest slumlord, that you own all the vacant houses. Yes, we own the vacant houses because they're abandoned and we wind up having to take them in. We don't own houses and let them run down and get vacant. We wind up having to take them back because people just walk away from them. And then, of course, we have to do it. People say, well, let homeowners buy them and improve them. Impossible. These things are in such horrible condition to begin with that you couldn't afford to rehabilitate them. In many cases, you wouldn't want to build these really little dinky places anyway. Taking them down costs $50,000 each. It's $75 million for us to take down all the vacant houses. The look from the outside is really simple. When you get inside, it's really complicated.
Well, thank you for setting the record straight on that. I think that's some information that our constituents needed to hear. And as always, Mayor, it's great to interview you. My hope is that over the last 8 weeks, you've shown a clear indication of why you are the most capable person to run the city for the next 4 years. So I appreciate your time here this evening, and I appreciate the interview.
Thank you, Ashley.
And thank you guys for joining us this evening. I'm Ashley Christopher. Be on the lookout for more on the Mayor's Corner.
And I support Mayor Mike because I have always believed that the city of Wilmington at its helm needs a businessman that understands politics, not a politician that understands business.
And I support Mayor Mike because he has demonstrated the leadership necessary to lead Wilmington to the next level.
He has provided access to higher education opportunities for Black children here in the city of Wilmington like no other mayor across the country has done.
There's a few reasons. One of the main reasons what he's done for HBCUs. Millions of dollars going to Black children, going to Black colleges.
I've never seen nothing like that here in Wilmington before in my life. You figure 26 colleges from all over, HBCU colleges. You're talking about Cheney University, Lincoln University, Morgan, Delaware State University, just to name a few.
How incredible is that, sending Black students to Black colleges?
In his 4 years as mayor, he has again proven to me that he is competent and compassionate. We are making progress. Further progress is only going to be made.
His drive for small businesses.
I support Mayor Mike because of the incentives that he's offering small Black businesses, such as the DBE.
Through his DBE initiative, we were able to start the very first Wellness in Wilmington program, and we were able to scale our business exponentially.
His passion and drive for education in the city.
Mayor Mike put $2.3 million in the West Center City initiative.
He has been an advocate for cleaning up Wilmington's environment.
And the most important thing, the respect he has for the people of the city.
There's only been one mayor who has come to my home and to my business to talk to me about what's going on in Wilmington, and that's Mayor Mike.
No matter if the issue is small or big, he'll always answer the phone for me. And that's real. Coming from where I come from, you know, it's not a lot of people that has the mayor's cell phone number, and when you call him, he's actually answering.
And finally, provide opportunities for young people throughout the city to make their lives better. With that, we ask you to vote for Mayor Mike.
Because there's so much more to do.